Welcome my friends back to STEM Lab. We have been talking about plants and photosynthesis and what plants need to do to survive and get energy. And we've talked about why that's important for us humans here on Earth, because plants not only provide us with food and then things to build shelter and tools with like wood, but they also provide us with the oxygen that we breathe. And the way they do that, the way they provide us with food and things to build with and oxygen to breathe, is through a process called photosynthesis. And so when you guys probably first heard that word, it was probably hard to say. But we've heard it enough times, and we've seen our trusty picture of our tomato plant here to know that there are three things involved in photosynthesis, right? So we have our yellow arrows here for the sunlight that comes down and hits the plant's leaves. Then we have our blue arrows for the water that's absorbed by the plant's roots and then carried all throughout the plant by its stem. And then we have the carbon dioxide, which sometimes we forget that. Because the sunlight, we can see it, we can feel it on our skin. Water, wow, we really know a lot about water, so it's pretty hard to forget about water. But carbon dioxide's invisible. It's part of the air. And if you remember, if you hold your hand up and you breathe out, what you feel on your hand is mostly carbon dioxide. So we can't see it, but we can feel it, and it is all around us. And it's usually the third thing that we remember when plants do photosynthesis. So those are the three things: sunlight, the yellow arrows, blue arrows, water, and then the red arrows, carbon dioxide. So when those three things come together, a plant is able to do photosynthesis and make energy. And with that energy, they grow big and tall and make tomatoes, or fruits and vegetables that you like. And they also grow big into tall trees that we can use for wood to build our homes and furniture and even toys. And then, also because it's invisible, we tend to forget it, there's the oxygen. And we definitely need oxygen. Just how we need food to eat and to live, we need oxygen to be able to breathe. So without that oxygen, we would be in bad shape. So we have to be very thankful to plants. I like this little video because it shows us the light coming in and bouncing against the leaf, because that's where the chloroplasts are. If we remember that from our photosynthesis song, the chloroplasts are what absorb the sunlight and take in the carbon dioxide and the water. If I move my head, put myself by the sun. There we go. And there's the water and carbon dioxide coming in. And then what comes out, there's the invisible oxygen that we forget about sometimes. And then the carbohydrates. Now that's a funny word, but that's the word that we use to talk about the plant's energy. So the plants make energy, and then they can grow big, make us vegetables and fruits, and give us all the things that we need to survive. So this is a close-up view of the chloroplasts of the plant. So the chloroplasts are what absorb the sunlight. So the sunlight comes in, hits the chloroplasts, and if there's water and carbon dioxide happening in there, then it makes energy, the carbohydrates that the plants need to survive. Now, just like you and I, how we have parts of our body, we've got arms and legs and ears and nose and mouth. All of those parts of our body have a job to do, and so do the parts of a plant. So we've got our trusty tomato plant again here, and it has the part above ground and then the part below ground. And then the part below ground, that's the root system, and we usually can't see that as part of a plant. And the roots are what absorb the water and minerals for the plant. So the plant can get that water and transport it up to the leaves so that photosynthesis can happen. It also absorbs minerals, or if you want to think about them like vitamins. And practically it holds the plant in the earth, so it keeps it from falling over if there's a wind or if an animal bumps into it. So it keeps the plant rooted into the ground. And then the part above ground is called the shoot system. And the first part that we see that sticks up above the ground is the stem. So if we think back to the celery experiment that we did, where we put the piece of celery into the different colored water, and we saw that it changed color, that's because it sucked up the water and transported it up through the piece of celery, just like the stem does on this tomato plant. It transports the water and nutrients all throughout the plant. So it sends water to the leaves, and the leaves have the chloroplasts that take the energy from the sunlight and carbon dioxide, and then the water comes in, and we have photosynthesis happening. The plant now has energy to grow, and it can make flowers, and the flowers can make seeds, or if it's a tomato plant, it's going to make tomatoes. So those are the parts of the plant that are needed to help it survive. And then the roots, just like the upper parts of the plant, there are parts of the roots. The roots branch out not only to help hold the plant in the soil so that it doesn't fall over or get knocked over or blown over. It also spreads out so that it can collect more water and nutrients. The bigger the root system, the more water and nutrients a plant can absorb. So, if you guys think back just to a couple days ago, we talked about some unusual plants. So that means plants that aren't like other plants, that are very different from that tomato plant that we talked about. But even for as unusual as they are, they still get most of their energy from photosynthesis. So we talked about really tall trees, the redwoods, and the big, giant, and tall sequoia trees that are some of the biggest living organisms on Earth. And then we talked about the pitcher plant. That anything falls into the pitcher plant is doomed, and it's going to get turned into a nutrient milkshake. Or the Venus flytrap. There's a close-up picture of the Venus flytrap. So even though the Venus flytrap is unusual or different because it eats flies and mostly spiders and ants, it's unusual because it does that. It still gets most of its energy from photosynthesis. So even though it's going to close its jaws any second on that fly and then dissolve it over the period of a week, it still gets most of its energy from sunlight. And if we think back to the videos that we saw about both the pitcher plant and the Venus flytrap that we see here, we remember that they don't eat a lot of other creatures. They get most of their energy from sunlight. They just happen to live in an area where their roots can't get enough nutrition. They can't get enough nutrients. So the soil where they grow does not have all of the materials that it needs to survive. So the pitcher plant and the Venus flytrap have to eat other creatures sometimes. But they really only do it sometimes. It's not all the time. And there's the pitcher plant, and we saw the video there that anything that falls in the pitcher plant is going to be doomed. It's not going to be able to get out. Any of those little creatures that fall in are going to get dissolved, just like with the Venus flytrap. The Venus flytrap doesn't have teeth or a mouth to chew up its food. They close shut around the fly or the spider or the ant. And same thing with the pitcher plant. The pitcher plant doesn't have teeth. It just lets the creature fall in there. And then as the creature struggles and it loses energy, it slowly dissolves it away. So it doesn't eat them, it dissolves them. Kind of like if you put a gummy bear in your mouth and you let it sit there for a little while, it just turns to nothing. And that's kind of what happens with the Venus flytrap and the pitcher plant. It dissolves its meals. But again, there's nothing for us to be afraid of. These are very small plants. Your hand would hardly even fit inside there. And most importantly, you're too smart. Even if there was a gigantic pitcher plant and it was the size of a table, you wouldn't fall in. You'd see it over there and you're like, yeah, I don't think I want to fall in there. And even if you did, you're big and strong, you could just climb right out. So there's nothing to be afraid of with these plants. They don't bother kids at all. Okay, so let's not forget that. And now we have the giant redwood trees. And we're very lucky because both the redwoods and the sequoia trees are here in California. And they're just a car ride away. So these are in Northern California, and the sequoia trees are kind of more in Central California. But even though these trees are massive, they're huge, they're bigger than buildings, they still get their energy from photosynthesis. So even though they stretch way up into the sky and are as big as a building, these plants still get most of their energy from photosynthesis. And they still have roots, they still have a stem, but in this case they're very big and we call them trunks. But these amazing plants, all of these amazing plants, still get most of their energy from photosynthesis. So I have a job for you guys. We normally do questions and we get to ask questions and answer questions and share things. So we can't do that right now. But what I would like from you guys, I want you to draw me a picture. Now you can do this however you want. So if you are really good with your tablet and you know how to do all the cool things that are on your tablet, you can draw me a picture using your tablet. Okay? That would be really neat. And there's different ways you can get that to me. You can email it to me. You can send it to your teacher who can send it to me. Or you can just keep it on your tablet and we'll share it next time we're together face to face or in person or video to video. Now, if you don't know how to do that or you don't want to do that, which is fine also, you can draw me a picture like this one that's on your screen. You can use crayons or color pencils or a regular pencil, or you can paint it, or you could draw it in chalk and take a picture of it. However you want to do it. Okay, so next time that we're together and we can talk back and forth, I want to see a picture of a plant. Okay, you can be like this one where there's two flowers, the sun, and a plant. You can draw one plant. You could draw me a picture of a Venus flytrap or a pitcher plant. You can make up a plant. It can be an imaginary plant that doesn't exist anywhere except for in your head. But what I want to see from you guys next time we're together is a whole bunch of pictures. Okay, so that's what I want to see from you. So that's your job. I think it's a fun job, and I bet you all of you can do it. So the next time we're together, I want to see a lot of pictures, okay? So that will be all for today. So you should have some extra time, and what you should do with this extra time is draw a picture. All right, so if you need to get materials and supplies to draw a picture, ask your grown-up for those and make me a wonderful picture, okay? And there's no wrong way. Okay, there's no such thing as a bad picture of a plant. So I want plants. All righty? Thank you very much, my friends. We will be back together on video very soon.